Right. Hold on. So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms were disgusting. That doesn't mean that.
The real question here is, do the Millers have anything else in their toolbox other than threatening citizenship or revoking citizenship when their feelings are hurt? Because that was Katie Miller, Cenk, Stephen Miller's wife, threatening to revoke your citizenship because you were too critical of Israel?
And her, so you're gonna see later that she thinks that if you criticize Israel, you're criticizing her children. And if you beat her in a debate, she's gonna try to have her husband denaturalize and deport you. So what I want you to.
How about this? I would like to propose a challenge. The don't feed into the tropes challenge.
Yeah.
How does this not feed into tropes?
Yeah, so we don't control anything, but you criticize Israel, we're kicking you out of the country when we're taking away your citizenship. Look, first they started with people who had student visas. I'm an American citizen. Now they're on to citizens.
100%.
Okay, so if you dare criticize Israel, no First Amendment rights, no freedom of speech. No, this government is going to target you on behalf of the Israeli government. And you're gonna see Katie Miller threatening it on air live. And then I'll respond today now that I heard her say, because when we were debating, I didn't hear her threaten my citizenship. I have a response.
Well, let me take you all for a ride. Okay, we're gonna set this up, kind of show how this was building up in the context of this Piers Morgan interview. So the conversation centered on the New York City mayoral race. And as you can imagine, since you have Zoran Mamdani, who is Muslim, involved and poised to win that race, it'll bring out the bigots like Katie Miller, who immediately attack, right? And talk about how he's gonna destroy everything. So, as we all know, Zoran Mamdani has been smeared as some sort of jihadist and an anti-Semite because he won't declare fealty to Israel. But Miller had a different perspective. Let's take a look.
Why is it that every time someone wants to criticize Mamdani, it immediately comes back to the Jews and the anti-Israel movement instead of actually talking about his viewpoints, which is that he wants to make
Jews. You just said it. You always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back, but you have to make it about Jewish Americans. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Is Israel a Jewish state? Yes or no?
Yeah. First of all, okay, so Saudi Arabia is a Muslim state, and you can criticize it all day long, all day long. There's no special protection
because
for
what you're
Muslims,
doing is you're decoding language
that
to
calls themselves
American
a Jewish state or a Muslim
state. And to say that we should not be here and we should not be in existence, and that you would be happy for other people like Mamdani.
I want Israel to be safe.
Nothing of the sort.
Nonsense. You're totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying.
So I gotta say, this standard, this double standard actually is pretty hilarious because, okay, I'll give you another example. Our government, whether we're talking about a Democratic-led government or Republican-led government, it doesn't matter. There's been a lot of tough talk and a lot of criticism toward China. Oh, that's it. They hate the Chinese. They hate the Chinese people. No, you're being critical of a government. I might not agree with the criticism, that's where we can have dialogue and a debate. But when it comes to Israel, no criticism allowed. She got hurt real quick in this exchange, like right away.
Yeah, so she's not a very good debater, so she skipped to the anti-Semitic stuff when she's supposed to wait for you to trigger one of the million tropes that they've laid out there, like landmines, right? And once you step on a landmine by criticizing Israel in any way, shape, or form, that's when she's supposed to pretend to be aggrieved and be the victim, right? So for example, you'll say Israel killed 20,000 kids in Gaza. That is a fact, right? And they'll say, yeah, that they don't deny that it's a fact. They go blood libel. Wait, what are you talking about? No, like 200 years ago, people said that Jews killed kids, Christian kids, when they didn't and drank their blood. Good news, I didn't say any of that. I said Israel, not Jews, killed 20,000 kids today. So what are you going to blood libel for? Because everything is a trope planted around Israel to protect it. So Anna's right. If England does something terrible, or the UK, or
which
Norway,
they have many times.
Yeah, Portugal, whatever. We're allowed to criticize any government. The Greeks, oh yeah, Turks, no problem. Everyone, but if you criticize Israel, trope, you're an anti-Semite. Why? Why do they want to call you an anti-Semite?
Because you don't criticize Israel.
Right, but why? So, but like, yeah, okay, you get called a name, maybe you get past it. No, the second part of that is once you're called an anti-Semite, then the everyone has to never hire you, never put you on air. It is the ultimate cancel culture weapon. It is the nuke of the cancel culture. Like if you're anti-Muslim, no problem, you'll get back on TV. It doesn't affect your career 1%, right? If you're anti-black, that's gonna affect your career a lot, right? But if you're considered anti-Semitic, your career in media and politics is done. So what she's saying is eliminate him. And in fact, later in the interview, she literally says, I shouldn't be allowed to talk, and that any criticism of Israel is a criticism of her kids.
So she spends much of the interview talking about how she's the victim. And I'm not even exaggerating. Think about this. Just put it in context. This is Stephen Miller's wife. Stephen Miller, one of like the most openly hateful, bigoted guys on the planet. He doesn't hide it. And she's talking about how she and her family are victims because Cenk is being critical of Israel. I kid you not, take a look.
We want Israel to be a safe haven for Jews, 1967 borders, but you guys say, no, more Palestinian land. Take Gaza, take the West Bank, take southern Lebanon. Your greed knows no bounds. And by the way, you and your husband are supposed to be working for America, not for Israel.
No, Piers, quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your
in which
children into this?
He inserted a line that says the Miller's lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Piers, where are you?
What?
Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Katie,
pathetic.
if I can speak.
Everything's your shield.
If I can speak, listen.
Fire him, cancel him, cancel him, America. Oh my God, Israel's feelings have been hurt. Why don't you work for this country?
All right, can we try and get
this country instead of Israel?
Can we try?
Do you agree when your guest says that the Millers always lie? Because that's what your guest on your show just said, is that the Millers always lie.
Are you gonna be okay? Are you gonna be okay? I mean, can you handle it being in the media? It doesn't seem like she can. She's got a weak sauce, pathetic podcast. I tried listening to it because I have an open mind. I'll listen to anything. Super lame, doesn't know what she's doing. And then she agrees to go on Piers Morgan's show. Have you ever watched Piers Morgan's show? Did you think it was gonna just be like were you gonna have your head caressed? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
She said that the Millers lie. I'm raising Jewish children in America. Okay, it's coded language. Like, well, I mean, that was insane.
So there's so many things here. First, on the kids' part, she's like, I'm threatening to denaturalize and deport you. Well, that's gonna affect my kids a lot, right? So, but my kids are not a concern because you're not pro-Israel, so your kids are irrelevant. They're just Americans. They're very lower than us, okay? But I say her and her husband lie. She's like, it's coded language for anti-Semitism, so it's hurting my kids. Wait a minute, that's not even a trope. You forgot that one. Okay, there's like a million tropes, but that's not one of them. That all Jews lie. I've never even heard that. You just made that one up. And so wait. But think about it, guys. Think about how much this is identity politics and DEI in a sense.
Oh my, this is DEI on steroids. What are you talking about?
Because she's saying you cannot ever accuse anyone who happens to be Jewish of lying in any debate, even if they are lying, because it harms all Jewish people and their children.
Yeah, wrong again, Bob.
Then you can't ever participate in a debate. Then don't come. And then you see her look to mommy. She's like, Piers, why aren't you canceling him? He already said something against me. Stephen told me we could cancel anyone we want. We can kick him out of the country. Why don't you kick him out of your show, huh? There's no crying a mommy in a debate. Okay, you either show up with facts or you try your weak sauce identity politics and I'm the victim horse crap and you get your ass handed to you.
So I can't help myself. I had to show you, because it went on and on. So I have to show you a little more of her whining. It was amazing. Take a look.
Mamdani, just as you said here, is a socialist. He is someone who's going to drive New York to the bottom. I'm excited for him to win because he'll prove to every other single large city in our country that what you will see is failure, what you will see is high crime, what you will see is murders, for the reasons in which he is wrong and which he will drive New York into failure. Is again the same reason why people on your show, instead of arguing the merits, as you say, of his opinions, they're going to sit here and use attacks on my husband and myself instead of debating us on our values and our opinions. It is gross, it is racist, and it is bigoted. And I will not join your show again if you
your values
speak to that.
suck. That's what I'm debating.
Yeah, you are a guest on my show, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and I like you coming on the show.
And I'm saying
But,
two other guests on your show are welcome to participate in these anti-Semitic attacks that is so permeating on CNN and MSNBC.
This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. I have to jump in here. Somebody criticizing you personally is not an anti-Semitic attack. If somebody says that you are lying, that is not an attack on Jews, that is an attack on you. And just stop hiding behind identity. This is all the snowflake behavior that the right is supposedly criticizing the left for.
That was Omar Bader at the end, and he's amazing. And he totally hit the nail on the head, Cenk. I mean, this is the exact type of behavior the right has criticized the left for, in a lot of cases accurately, to be honest with you, hiding behind identity in order to avoid any personal responsibility or accountability when you do something wrong. I find that pretty gross as well. Weaponizing identity to silence people, I find that gross. Now you literally have, this is the thing that blows my mind. It's Stephen Miller's wife. Stephen Miller's wife saying all this stuff.
Yeah. So look, more. First, if you didn't hear what I said to her a couple of times there, because there's a lot of crosstalk, the last comment I said is anti-Semitism my ass. Okay, because everything is anti-Semitism. You ask her about any topic, it doesn't matter. How's your day? You're an anti-Semite. Okay, you hate my children. All right, whatever, dude. All right, number two is when I said. She's like, oh no, they're just attacking us because they're racist and bigoted. Anna, you're right. I mean, the right wing hates that more than the left wing does.
They're supposedly,
yeah. And so now she's hiding behind her identity. In fact, later in the show, we talked about Karine Jean-Pierre, and I said the same thing on Piers Morgan that I said the day before on the Young Turks.
Yes.
Where I said, look, man, I don't care that Karine Jean-Pierre is a black queer woman, as she says like a million times. Yes, but what did you do? I don't care about your identity.
Yep.
Tell me what your positions are, what your policies are, what your ideas are. So we asked the same thing of Katie Miller that we asked of Karine Jean-Pierre. But what does she do? She does the same thing Karine Jean-Pierre does. She hides behind her identity. You're not allowed to criticize me. You're not allowed to debate me. You're not allowed to say I lie. You're not allowed to do anything because I'm Jewish. And that means you're an anti-Semite for opposing me. But wait a minute, I agree with other Jews, Dave Smith, Glenn Greenwald, Jeffrey Sachs. I can list 1,000 Jews that I love. In fact, I know hundreds of Jews. I don't know one that likes Stephen Miller or agrees with him, right? So if the standard,
well, except for his wife.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there are. I just don't know any out of the hundreds of Jews that I know, family and friends.
Yeah.
They all despise Stephen Miller. So the idea that Stephen Miller and Katie Miller speak for all Jews might be the single most incorrect thing ever stated on Piers Morgan's show, which is a hell of a thing, right?
Coded language.
Coded language for what? Most Jews can't stand you, okay?
Look, I will say this about Cenk, okay? He might be a lot of things, but he's not the kind of guy who uses coded language.
Yeah.
Okay, he comes in like a ton of bricks. Like he just does, that's who Cenk is. He's gonna say what he means, he's not gonna try to cower with coded language.
So as she was pretending I was attacking her race, what you might not have heard is I said, no, your values suck.
Yeah, no, that was the best line.
Okay,
that was my favorite line, it was so funny.
So it's like, I don't hide a thing, right? I'm gonna come for you 100 miles per hour. Anyway, the other thing about Mamdani, just super quick, we talked about on the show before. Mamdani has more, according to the polling, every poll, more Jewish support than any other candidate in New York. And among Jews under the age of 45, he's at 67% approval.
You said 67% coded language. Coded language.
Math is anti-Semitic. But wait, no, Jewish Americans are on Mamdani's side.
Yeah.
No, Jews, 67% of Jews are anti-Semitic if they don't agree with the Millers?
I guess so, I guess so.
Yeah,
now look,
absurd.
After all of her pathetic tactics failed, she decided to turn to threats. And this was the moment that Cenk actually missed in real time, realized what was said today. And so let's watch, and then you'll finally have your opportunity to respond to it.
Israel does not get a pass on committing another genocide because Jewish people suffered the Holocaust. What happened
you
in the
don't get a
Holocaust
pass.
was
You don't get a pass
disgusting.
for calling
It was
them the
horrible.
SS. Right.
Hold on. So
You better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust and
application
all
and
the
hope
pogroms
everything was legally
were
you'll be
disgusting.
just like Ilhan
That
Omar
doesn't
coming
mean
in.
that Israel, pretending to represent Jews across the world, gets to commit another genocide upon a totally innocent people and collective punishment and murdering children over and over again and go, I get to do it. I get to do a genocide.
Before you go off, Cenk, I just have to make one comment because it appears that Piers Morgan is very offended that you referred to the IDF as the SS.
Yeah.
Why are you offended, Piers? I mean, how is the IDF acting any differently? See, I want an answer to that. So how many kids do they need to slaughter happily for you to see them for what they really are?
Yeah.
I think they're the exact same, okay? Vicious, dehumanizing monsters. And I would never apologize for saying that. I think calling them SS is totally right. Go ahead, Cenk. I don't care. Oh, well, it's so insulting to Jewish people. Is it? How about what the IDF is currently doing right now? Are we just gonna provide cover for that because they happen to be part of Israel and we always provide cover for Israel regardless of how many innocent people they slaughter? No, I'm not falling for that. I don't care. The Holocaust doesn't give you license to carry out the exact same atrocities and not get criticized for it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what you might not have heard because they kept interrupting me is I was saying that the Holocaust and all the pogroms that Jews have gone through in history are disgusting. And it's terrible what happened to Jewish Americans. Then I went on to explain the reason that I mentioned the SS line is because, look, you can compare it to any soldiers of any genocide. And I mentioned the Ottomans doing it to the Armenians. So that is, of course, my ethnic group, Turks. And you could say they were Turkish soldiers or Cambodian soldiers that worked with Pol Pot or Serbs in Srebrenica, etc. Are you saying that we're allowed to criticize all of those other races, religions, countries for doing a genocide, but the one country we're not allowed to criticize for doing a genocide is Israel? Well, then you're proving my point, which is, no, Israel is allowed to do one. They get a pass. They get a free pass on genocide. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Can I just say something? 1.5 million Armenians were slaughtered by the Turks in 1915. And by the way, there were a ton of massacres prior to that as well. I would never in a million years run around weaponizing my identity to prevent anyone from criticizing me or Armenians if Armenians engage in bad behavior. It's not the 1940s anymore. You don't get to use that victim card to provide cover for the atrocities that are being carried out by Israel. I'm so I find that disgusting, right? Using and weaponizing the tragedy of the Holocaust in order to provide cover for very similar atrocities that are being carried out against the Palestinian people. That victim card thing doesn't work anymore. It's over.
Yeah, and so look, last couple of things here on the kids as an example. So I also explained on the show, 60% of the kids were killed according to a study by the BBC in Gaza with either head or chest shots from snipers from hundreds of yards away, 60% in the study that they did. So that is the IDF/SS looking, going, oh, by the way, they were all under 12. Oh, there's a 5-year-old. Who's gonna take the shot to murder him? Are you gonna get him through the brain or the heart? Oh, there's a 3-year-old, there's an 11-year-old. You're telling me that's not the SS? They have an 83% civilian kill ratio, the worst of any terrorist group in the world. That's the IDF. Worse than Hamas, worse than Al Qaeda. I'm not talking that they're worse overall. I'm just saying in terms of purposely, intentionally killing civilians. Their civilian kill ratio is worse than any terror group and worse than Assad, the butcher in Syria, okay? So if that's not a genocide and that's not somebody your country you're allowed to criticize, I don't know what is. So that really gets to the heart of not Israel, not even the New York race. It gets to the heart of America and who are we? Because we started talking about the New York race and she turned it into you're not allowed to criticize Israel, otherwise I'm gonna kick you out of America.
How about you get out of America? How about you go live in Israel? How about this is America where we have a diverse population of people who have all types of different faiths, all types of different nationalities and backgrounds, and they're here because they want to be Americans. They're here because they love America first and foremost. All these people running around trying to silence Americans or leech off of our resources for a foreign country, get the F out of our country. And I mean that with my whole chest. I loathe these people because I see them as traitors to this country. I see them as individuals who use and abuse this country on behalf of a foreign country. Get out. You love Israel, go live in Israel. Why aren't you living there? I don't get it, Cenk.
I know why.
I wanna, look, eventually one day when I retire, I wanna like lay on a beach in Italy, but that's not because I dislike America. I freaking love this country, okay? But I would never imagine lobbying hard to like send over our resources and have our soldiers fight on behalf of Italy or Armenia or any other country. These people, they feel so entitled to it, and that's what drives me crazy. And then you have an entire political and media class that reinforces that narrative. No, we don't owe Israel anything, not a single dollar. Unfortunately, we have a bunch of politicians who are bribed and blackmailed into giving Israel anything and everything they want. But I don't co-sign onto that. I'm an American. I love this country.
Yeah, so what I would say is that they're traitors to the idea of America.
No, they're traitors to America.
Okay, so why?
She doesn't love America. Sorry, Jay, go ahead.
So why are they? You said, why are they here? Well, first of all, they were born here, to be fair, right? So I don't mind them being here, but I mind them serving Israel instead of us, especially when they're in the government. And she's not in the government, by the way. She's just a princess, Princess Snowflake. She's married to the nobles. So she's married to Stephen Miller. So she says, oh yes, as the wife of one of the nobles, one of the lords in the Trump administration, I get to unilaterally cancel your citizenship. That's not how this country works. So maybe that's how Israel works, where you're like, oh, you're Muslim, that's it, you're canceled. Or maybe we murder you, maybe we kick you out, but you have no rights at all.
Yeah, open up some
that's
space for the
Israel.
pedophiles.
That's not here, that's not America. And by the way, now the right wing is on our side, and now young Jewish Americans all the way up to 45 years old are overwhelmingly on our side, and soon almost all Jewish Americans will be on our side. The only people left will be these pro-Israel radicals. And we never bring up religion. Every single time it's the pro-Israel radicals that bring up religion, right? So maybe others say it, but we certainly have never said it. We never say, oh, it's the Jews or anything along those lines. In fact, we do the exact opposite. We love our Jewish brothers and sisters, and we're not just saying that, they're Americans. It means something to be an American. That means you're one of us, okay? But what Katie Miller is doing is she's betraying that idea that you're one of us.
She's trying to bury Americans on behalf of Israel. Okay, that's what I have a problem with. When you're trying to destroy the lives of your fellow Americans because they hurt your feelings when they commented on a foreign country that you have far more loyalty to. Yeah, I said it. So it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not gonna hold back and I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. The fact that she threatened to revoke your citizenship because you're critical of Israel is disgusting, and she's a traitor to the country. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, okay, last thing from me. Guys, what authority does she have to revoke anybody's citizenship? She's saying, since I'm married to a noble, to an elite, and you are embarrassing me in this debate by being right, and I have literally no facts to back me up, all I have is charges of racism and anti-Semitism, right? But it doesn't matter, since I am one of the elites, I get to cancel any American that criticizes me or Israel. I don't know anything more un-American than that. I just don't. And so at this point, they're getting a twofer, the Millers and the other pro-Israel radicals. They're like, we get to enjoy beautiful America. We get to direct America's money to Israel. We get to do propaganda here against all Muslims because Israel's has continually attacked their Muslim neighbors and taking their land, and then we make America fight all those wars against those Muslims instead of Israel. So it's a giant win for them because they take everything they need from America, give it to their actual country that they're loyal to. And by the way, in all of this, did you ever hear me say anything about Turkey? Never, right? Because what do I care? I'm an American.
The only thing you say about Turkey, and in the context of that interview, is you talked about the Armenian genocide.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never say anything where, well, you owe Turkey. You're anti-Turkish if you criticize the government of Turkey. Like, I would never say anything that absurd. In fact, as Anna pointed out, I criticize the government of Turkey. You know why? I'm an American. But she does not feel that loyalty.
Yeah,
at a moment's notice, she's like, Israel, 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 and DEI, culture wars, identity politics, cancel culture. I'm gonna do it all on behalf of Israel, and I'm gonna trash the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and the US Constitution, and try to literally attack Americans and kick them out of the country on behalf of a foreign government. Not only is that the most un-American thing you could do, it's also the very last thing you do if you want to be America first.
Yeah.
That is not America first, that's America last.
The barbarians are no longer at the gate, they are now inside.
Wow, so you're calling Cenk Uygur a barbarian? Well, given he's here, let me bring him into this. Cenk, what is your response to that?
Before we get to Cenk's response in the context of this appearance on Piers Morgan, Cenk, how do you feel about being a barbarian?
I feel pretty good about it. As you're about to see here, I had a different response than most people would to that.
So Cenk's about to go off on Randy Fine, and I'm here for it. Now, for those who might not be familiar with this freshman Republican congressman, he rejoices in the thought of starving Palestinian children to death. There is no war crime that he has not supported, as long as it's carried out by the IDF and the Israeli government, of course. He's just an overall inhumane, grotesque, gluttonous person. And you're about to get, if you've been following this story, a little bit of, what's the right word? I guess enjoyment, because Cenk is about to tear into him. Let's watch.
There are barbarians inside the gate, and that's Randy Fine. Randy Fine is a sick terrorist sympathizer. In fact, if he wants America to do terrorism on Israel's behalf, he has said we should nuke Gaza. That's killing millions of innocent children and human beings and civilians, but he doesn't care. He only cares about Israeli lives. By the way, the Israelis have murdered now nearly a dozen Americans in the West Bank. No accountability from our government. And people like Randy Fine say we owe Israel. We owe Israel a genocide. We owe Israel $300 billion. We owe them no accountability at all when they kill American citizens. They had a pervert Israeli government official that came here in Vegas and tried to rape our children, and we let him go. That's insane. Randy Fine, are you asking for the sick Israeli government to return the pedophile so he could face justice here? No, Randy Fine represents Israel, not America.
Just want to note for the record, and you can check for yourselves, Randy Fine never answered the question about Tom Alexandrovich. That's the Israeli pedophile and government official who was allowed to just go back to Israel after he got caught up in an FBI sting operation in which he thought he was meeting up with a 15-year-old girl to have sex with. Cenk, back to you.
Yeah, and so our government also does not ask for Mohammed Ibrahim back. He's a 16-year-old kid that lives in Florida, and they can't bring him back to Florida because he's in an Israeli gulag. They asked him, what's the crime? They said he saw someone else throwing a rock. He's lost 30% of his weight. He's got a terrible disease now. He's not allowed to talk to his parents ever. And the Israelis go, we might never return this American kid.
Yeah, because the Israelis are terrorists. Yeah, that's what they are. We support a terrorist regime.
I get that the Israelis are terrorists, obviously, right? But our government is supposed to fight for us. So they've killed all those Americans in the West Bank, no accountability. They kidnapped one of our kids, no accountability. They come to rape our children, no accountability. Why did we return him? And what is Randy Fine doing to get that pervert back here to bring him to justice? Nothing, because that's literal. He represents Israel. He doesn't want him back. He would never want him back. He would want to protect him. Every reporter should ask him, are you doing anything to get this guy back to either bring the Palestinian American kid back to America where he lives in Florida, right? Are you doing anything about the pedophile? And he's not, because he's not in the business of protecting America. He's in the business of protecting his beloved real country, Israel. So ironically, this guy accuses me, Mamdani, and Ilhan Omar of dual loyalty when we never talk about Uganda, Somalia, or Turkey.
Dual loyalty? Are you kidding me right now? Cenk has been so critical of Erdogan, the leader of Turkey. I mean, he's been critical of, obviously we've talked about the genocide on this show multiple times, including today, prior to this.
The Armenian genocide.
Yeah, the Armenian genocide.
As opposed to the Israeli genocide.
Right, exactly.
Or the Palestinian genocide done by the Israelis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no, I've never got a sense that there was dual loyalty when conversing with Cenk Uygur. I do get that sense with a lot of Israel supporters who are American citizens and seem to feel entitled to our tax dollars and our resources getting funneled to a genocidal, terroristic government.
Yeah, can I just, one more quick thing about dual loyalty. So look, are there like Greeks who love Greece and people from the Philippines who love the Philippines, even though they're American citizens and they have some affinity for their home country? Of course.
That's the most normal thing in the world.
And you're allowed to say that about Greeks or Turks or Italians, that's fine. But somehow you're not allowed to say it about Israel. Like you can criticize or compliment or whatever you want about any other country, but Israel has special rules. And they enforce this through cancel culture in media and in politics so thoroughly that you're not even allowed to question, wait, aren't they getting special rules? Isn't that super weird?
But cancel culture doesn't even describe the extent of it, Cenk. It's the most thuggish, mob-like behavior I've ever seen. And I really do mean that, because it's not that they'll come after you and get you fired and then it ends there. They will try to destroy the lives of every single one of your family members. They want you to be destitute, jobless. They want everyone in your family to suffer merely for criticizing a terror state. And that terror state is the state of Israel.
Yeah, so
it's crazy.
So there's real anti-Semitism in the world, but these guys, the pro-Israel radicals, they use it as a weapon. So they don't mean it. They know that nobody's being anti-Semitic. They know that it's a normal criticism of any government, let alone a government committing a genocide, let alone a government committing a genocide that's taken $300 billion from us and demands more and more and more. But they use anti-Semitism as a weapon to try to finish any opponent of Israel in this country.
Yeah.
And by the way, then their #1 ally in that fight forever and ever has been mainstream media. Mainstream media has done their dirty work for them. Oh yeah, he's an anti-Semite. He should be canceled. He should be fired from every job. He should never be allowed on air. What a terrible, hateful person.
Well, Cenk, now we know why though. I mean, now we know why, right? Like there are billionaires of all different backgrounds, okay? But what's interesting is when you have a Zionist billionaire or billionaires like the Ellisons, for instance, they are going to use their resources to rig the game in favor of Israel. And that's exactly what Larry Ellison is doing in regard to surveilling every American 24/7, recording what they're doing 24/7 so everyone's on their best behavior. His son, David Ellison, didn't spend $150 million on the free press because the free press is a media juggernaut. Okay, according to Financial Times, he bought the free press because of its pro-Israel bias and then made Barry Weiss, a hardcore Zionist, by the way, the editor-in-chief, the essential editor of the news division for CBS after the Paramount Sundance merger happened.
Yeah, no, what happened there is unbelievable. If you're not in the industry, you don't know, but people in the industry do know, and they overpaid her by at least 3x. Why did they do that? Because they're sending a message to everyone else in online media. If you're good boys and girls and you work for Israel, you're gonna get massively overpaid. If you criticize Israel, no offers, no money. By the way, we don't control anything. We don't control anything. But Larry Ellison bought TikTok. By the way, massive changes already on TikTok. So if you're trying to criticize Israel on TikTok, good luck, okay?
Yeah.
So, but they don't control anything. They happen to buy all of this stuff. And by they, I don't mean Jews. Most Jews are wonderful people in this country and don't want a genocide. I mean the pro-Israel radicals like Larry Ellison and Randy Fine.
I want to be fair to Randy Fine and give him an opportunity to respond. So let's watch.
The notion that I am more loyal to Israel than I am the United States is part of it. Israel is fighting a war of civilization on our behalf. The reason we need a Jewish state of Israel is because of the Muslims that surround it. And so I stand with Israel because I believe Israel is fighting the same fight that we have here in the United States, the same fight that people like Mandami and Cenk, wealthy Muslims who move here in order to change the complex and the nature of our country, are going to do it. And I won't apologize for that. I am very proud of my views. I'm very proud of my faith. I'm proud to be the first member of Congress in the history of the United States to wear a yarmulke.
Before we go to Cenk to respond to that, I made a total mistake. I misspoke. I keep mixing up the two. It's Skydance, not Sundance. Sundance is an entirely different entity. Go ahead.
And a wonderful organization.
Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. And thank you to Sean for the correction.
Yeah, I decided that this debate should be known as Uyghur versus Ogre. So this guy, look at what he just said. He said, we're helping Israel because they're surrounded by Muslims. Imagine if I had said the reverse. Imagine if I said, well, obviously we should help the Palestinians because they're surrounded by Jews.
I mean, that would be a disgusting, grotesque thing to say.
First of all, it would be a terrible thing to say, outrageous thing, and certainly your career would be over.
But also,
right?
I'm more offended.
But he said it like no response at all from anyone in power, not 1%.
So obviously that's deeply offensive. But I was stuck on what he said prior to that, which is Israel is protecting us.
Yeah, I was going to get to that
too. Please don't insult our intelligence. Please don't do that.
No, but they've been doing, no, to be fair to them, they have been insulting our intelligence for decades, and they have used mainstream media to brainwash the American people so we don't challenge these absurd hasbara, like Israel's a special ally. What does that mean? No one can explain what it means. It's just a nonsense phrase made up so that you don't question Israel. They are the only democracy in the Middle East. First of all, congrats, I guess. But so why does that mean we have to give them $300 billion? Turkey's a democracy. Do we have to give them $300 billion?
No, I don't.
They're kind of in the Middle East.
I don't want to give anyone that money.
Second of all, they're not a democracy. They're imprisoning 5.5 million Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. It's like saying, South Africa is a democracy if you don't count black people. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not. So everything that they've ever said is a nonsense talking point that if all you got to do is tip it over a little bit and people go, oh yeah, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense at all. So the Western civilization point, we are defending Western civilization. How? Israel just grabbed 53% of Gaza. They murdered over 68,000 people at a bare minimum, and they have 53% of the land. How did that help protect Western civilization? Here's what it did instead. When they attacked all of their neighbors, Iran, Qatar, Yemen, Lebanon, Syria, etc., right? What it did was, since we're paying for it here in America, and it's all the bombs say made in the USA, it enraged and angered the people in all those countries who we helped Israel bomb. Now, why did we bomb those poor people? Or help Israel bomb those people? Because Israel's a special ally defending Western civilization. No, that's just nonsense talking points to get you to attack all their enemies for them. Forget the $300 billion. We spent $8 trillion on the global war on terror. Well, the main thing was Iraq, right? Well, Iraq attacked us on 9/11. Oh, they didn't attack us on 9/11. In fact, Iraq used to attack Al-Qaeda, who attacked us on 9/11. At the time, Ariel Sharon and Netanyahu said Iraq is Israel's #1 enemy. But they say, no, we have such a special alliance, we give you intelligence all the time. It's almost always fake intelligence so that we attack their enemies. So where did we get the intelligence on the weapons of mass destruction? Oh, look at that, the fake intelligence was from Israel. Because they wanted us to spend trillions of dollars and our soldiers, not their soldiers, attacking their #1 enemy, Iraq. And now, by the way, what are they trying to do? Get us to attack their #1 enemy, Iran. And they say we owe them. We owe them all these wars. We owe them dead Americans. We owe them trillions of dollars. No, we don't. It's always been a lie by people like Randy Fine who don't serve us, they serve Israel.
Shut up. Let's get to reality, okay? So your last two guests, while pretending to be conciliatory, one of them started talking about me and started talking about blood on their hands. And then this idiot brings out a clip from 10 years ago that's about words and is pretending it has to do with violence.
Well, Cenk, it looks like your former employee tried to play a little trick on you during your appearance on Piers Morgan.
He did, but there's another person on that panel that I want to tell you about too after Anna gives you the receipts on Dave Rubin.
So I was curious about what Dave Rubin was accusing Cenk of, and it was something I wanted to look into because, if we've done anything wrong in the past, if we've said anything that can be interpreted as inciting violence, well, we should apologize for it, denounce what we've said in the past. But that's not what happened here. So Dave Rubin played this nasty trick on Cenk during this scuffle on Piers Morgan last week. And it is worth getting into just how shady and how dishonest the attack was, and how his false allegations could even inspire violence against Cenk. Now, first, he blasted off a bunch of relatively innocuous video titles referencing things that Charlie Kirk actually said. These are stories that we covered. Now, understand that Cenk Uygur is not sitting in front of a computer and literally like publishing our videos. We have a company, we have a team. But even so, there's nothing wrong with these titles. They're descriptive of what the content included. So with that in mind, take a look.
Well, Piers, it's not even that it's about his actual opinions. It's about the opinions that many thought leaders on the left purport that he has, which are complete lies. So look, I am in somewhat of a reconciliatory mode here. So I'd like to ask Cenk, I have 10 headlines here he has put up about Charlie Kirk. They are on his channel right now, and let's see if Cenk believes that these are true. Charlie Kirk says prominent black women took white people's spots. Charlie Kirk boasts about his all-white basketball team. Charlie Kirk gives piggish advice to high school girls. Ex-employee exposes Charlie Kirk's grift. Charlie Kirk embarrasses himself. Charlie Kirk's brain melts explaining anti-vax conspiracy. Charlie Kirk rants about women in their 30s. Charlie Kirk has literally no clue how the real world works. Charlie Kirk gets triggered, declines appearance over pronouns. Charlie Kirk doubles down on women hating backlash. I am telling you, Piers, Charlie Kirk was one of the best human beings I ever met. He did not have a bone of racism, misogyny, or anything else in his body. But liars lie.
Liars do lie, and what he's doing there is essentially lying to make it seem like the very same type of content that you would see all across YouTube is somehow inciting violence and inspiring people to carry out murder, including the murder of Charlie Kirk. Like those titles weren't even violent, and it had to do with what Charlie Kirk said on the record. So we need to be able to be engaged in political debate. And if we disagree with what someone is saying in the context of a political discussion or a speech, we're gonna do it. What happened to Charlie Kirk was wrong. Okay, the individual who carried out Tyler Robinson, the alleged murderer, should be brought to justice. There's no question about it. But to exploit that murder, to try to silence criticism of any political ideology or any political figure is ridiculous. And Dave Rubin, even with the plotting of this attack on Cenk, couldn't get it right. It's amazing how stupid he is. Anyway, I also noticed that he notably left out the video and title here. This is another video that we did of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, this is the gayest generation in American history. Dave Rubin, notably gay. I don't have a problem with it, but a lot of people on the right have. Not necessarily Charlie Kirk. I haven't seen Charlie Kirk attack Dave Rubin, but I remember when Dave Rubin was bringing children into this world through surrogacy. Oh, the right didn't like that, did they? But let me continue.
The extreme right.
The extreme right, not everyone on the right. There are definitely moderates who don't have a problem with it. Now, after that, Rubin plays an out of context audio clip featuring Cenk. Let's take a look at that.
Well, you know what, Cenk, I'll ask you a question directly, actually. Do you think Charlie wanted to be martyred? Do you think Charlie wanted to be martyred? Do you think Charlie wanted to be killed? Yes or no?
Of course not. What kind of asinine question is that?
You don't? You don't? Because that's pretty interesting. Because here's a video of you, Cenk, talking when Charlie was at a breakfast.
For these guys, and they don't deserve it. But I do also want to point out, as they're in the middle of crying now, although Charlie was smiling ear to ear throughout the entire video, thinking, yes, I'm now the victim, and I'll get to claim that my rights have been abridged.
Did you catch the beginning of that, Cenk?
Okay, so random audio clip from one of the videos where Cenk is covering a story involving Charlie Kirk. But then he gives a little more context, which gave me the opportunity and ability to look up the actual video and see what the context was. We're gonna get to that in just a minute, but here's what else Dave had to say.
Did you catch the beginning of that, Cenk? Listen, we'll do it again.
No, I didn't, and that's totally out of. No, we're not going to do it again. Totally out of context. I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
No. Listen, brother.
Are you trying to get harm on me? Is that what you're trying to do, you loser? Jesus Christ.
No, I'm trying
to do conciliation.
Exactly what people like you
look at the last
two
things of your last two guests.
Piers.
Jesus,
what they said was, yes, we should have reconciliation, but it is not without any contrition, right? It's not without a mea culpa. Charlie was accosted by Antifa at a breakfast in Philadelphia, and the video that I just played is you with a cartoon of him as Charlie Brown saying that he would love to be martyred so he could be the victim. Well, I guarantee you, his wife, who now doesn't have a husband, and his kids who don't have fathers, did not want him to be martyred.
What you just played isn't what
It's exactly what you said, brother. It's exactly what
it was.
Let's do it again.
No, it isn't.
We just
heard it. We just heard it.
It's not.
All right, so
it's not.
No,
let's do it again.
Cut this crap out.
Okay, so he mentioned something about Charlie Brown. Again, enough context clues for me to find the video in question. It actually dates back to August 6th, 2018. So let's take a look at what Cenk actually said in the video.
This weekend, there were some actions taken against them that I do not agree with. I wanted to show that for you guys. As always, we believe in being principled here and being for freedom of speech no matter what. Yeah, I don't agree with that. They poured water over his head. It's not the right thing to do. One, because anything physical is not the morally right thing to do and not the progressive thing to do. Number two, it allows them to play the victim card, which they can't wait to play. So why would you help them like that?
What was wrong with his commentary there? And why was Dave Rubin making it appear as though Cenk was inciting violence against Charlie Kirk? That has never happened. We have always been against violence because we find it immoral and undemocratic, by the way. We like dialogue, we like debate. And we have on multiple occasions condemned individuals who identify as left-wing activists for trying to ban speakers on college campuses, for trying to carry out acts of violence to intimidate their political opponents. So Dave Rubin should eat a peen. Go ahead, Cenk.
Okay, so I'll get back to the other person in that panel in a second. But first, we had the titles, right? And he's like, look at these anti-Charlie Kirk titles that you guys have had over a decade or so that we've known and battled Charlie, right? Are we not supposed to do videos about anyone on the other side in case they might get killed at a later date? What an absurd standard. But wait a minute, if that's the standard, then Dave Rubin shouldn't do any videos about us or anyone else. Because if something happens later, you did an anti-Cenk video. That is unacceptable.
It's a ridiculous standard.
No,
and he knows it,
But that's the thing, guys. So the thing with Dave Rubin and why no one likes him on the left or the right is because he's kind of an obvious liar. And so I'm gonna get back to that in a second, because there's something here that Anna just showed you that really proves it without a shadow of a doubt, right? So he reads a bunch of innocuous titles about things Charlie actually said, right? So, and again, let's think that through that standard. So if I say something outrageous about the right, no one's allowed to make a video about it and quote me accurately or object at all in case something happens to me later, because then you drove hatred towards me. No, that can't be the standard. Otherwise, no one's allowed to say anything, right? So obviously the correct standard is, did you encourage violence or did you discourage violence? Did you fight in the battlefield of ideas or one that is physical and violent, right? So if you say, no, there shouldn't even be a battlefield of ideas, no one should ever say anything, well, that's absurd. Everybody knows that's absurd. So none of those titles were, or the content of that was in any way misleading, and it was us disagreeing with Charlie. And what's interesting is that we disagree with Charlie a lot, but nevertheless, we invited him on the show. And we got a lot of heat from the left for inviting him on the show, right? And then when we had a conversation with him, we still disagreed on a lot of things about what the government should do in terms of encouraging families, et cetera, a million disagreements, right? But we found out, oh my God, we actually agree on a couple of things, and I was really surprised by it. You should watch that video from the Republican National Convention in 24, right?
In fact, Charlie felt so threatened by you inciting violence against him, Cenk, that he invited you to speak with him in person at a Turning Point event.
Yeah, and so look, so that's a great point too, and let me get to that real quick. So we talk at the RNC and then later at the DNC as well, and what we found out is, oh my God, it turns out we agree private equity should be banned from buying residential real estate because it's driving up housing prices, and that's a real big issue for folks on the right and the left, right? I was surprised at how much he agreed that the problem was corporate rule. I did not expect him to say that at all. Okay, so it turns out when you talk to each other and when you listen to one another, you might actually find points of agreement. And then afterwards, he invited me to America Fest, what you're referring to there, Anna. And so I took a tremendous amount of criticism from the left for being the only one on the left who would go speak to Charlie Kirk at America Fest.
That's right.
So now Dave wants you to believe that I'm the worst in attacking Charlie Kirk, when Charlie Kirk, when he was here, was the one that invited me to this other, and I'm the only one who was willing to go, knowing that I was going to get tremendous backlash from folks on the left, our base, and which, by the way, also, I know these guys are obsessed with money and business and how you're going to make money, and for Dave it's a little bit easier because he has the Russians and others, okay, but we knew that that would hurt our business because you're losing your own base of subscribers.
Yeah, you're losing
when
a portion of your audience. Yes.
Yeah, when you have principles, right? And so to say that we were particularly inflammatory against Charlie Kirk is the opposite of the truth, right? And see, and that gets to the second point, which is in my mind devastating. So Dave knows, he looked at those titles, he looked at those videos, he did a lot of homework here, and he knows they're not inflammatory.
Yeah.
So he knew, well, let me just read a bunch of titles real quick and get people to be angry at Cenk. Maybe they'll take it out on Cenk, right? But then he goes to the second video, and that's where the giant mistake is. Because when you watch the video, you see me saying, and I hadn't watched it, Anna watched it and did the research on it.
Right.
I hadn't watched that ever since we did the video, right? It turns out I said the same thing in that video that I said today on the show, earlier today on the show. Right, left, doesn't matter, 2018, 2025 doesn't matter, because we believe in principles. And I said, I don't like that they did that to Charlie. It was pouring water over his head, and I said, that's the wrong thing to do. What's interesting, guys, is Dave also watched that video.
He did.
And he saw me say, do not do anything physical, do not do anything violent. But he chose to mislead all of you and make it seem like I was encouraging violence rather than what I actually did, which was discourage violence. That's because Dave Rubin is a unique liar. He has no moral core at all, okay? And that's why I remember when he first went on Joe Rogan, and he made up half a dozen things that weren't even based in anything, any reality.
He claimed that we edit interviews, even though all interviews are streamed live and we don't edit interviews. The one time that anything was edited was when Dave Rubin begged TYT to edit out a portion of his debate in favor of Israel, in which he just said flat out that he's okay with Israel bombing a school, knowing that it's full of children, but there might be one Hamas militant there. Which, by the way, I mean, he has now proven over and over again that he's supportive of that, but he wanted that edited out. He went on Joe Rogan's show and claimed we edit interviews all the time and take people out of context. No, we don't. But we did edit a debate once for you to do you a solid because you said something pretty scummy and you knew it.
Yeah, I mean, no good deed goes unpunished. That goes for the entirety of Dave Rubin's career here at TYT. We picked him out of absolute obscurity. I'm so sorry, world, for doing that. And the only reason he got famous, he didn't get famous here. He got famous for attacking us and for making up all those lies. There's another half a dozen lies, but at this point you get it. So, but one last lie from that appearance on Piers Morgan. If you notice in the clip, I say, don't make him a victim because then he'll love that. And it's just harmless in that case, it's water. So he'll get to say, I'm the victim. And what did you do? You wound up helping his cause by attacking him.
And by the way,
don't attack him.
And what has happened now that he's been murdered? Right? He is seen as a martyr. And it's just true. So we were right back then in telling you not to attack Charlie Kirk, but instead Dave didn't say any of that. He did a quote that he claimed that I said Charlie would love to be martyred, but I never said that in the video. In fact, I said don't turn him into a victim by doing this, right? So you get the point, guys. You should never trust anything that Dave Rubin says. He has this one, again, he's just not a good person.
And two, he has this grudge against us that apparently is going to last forever and ever. So he's going to try to smear us from here to the end of time, right? And by the way, nobody's upset enough about Dave Rubin to do anything, right? Because he's such an irrelevant loser, to be honest. But if you are upset at him for this, don't do anything to Dave either. Okay, you don't need to ever do anything physical or violent. That is defeat. That is intellectual surrender.
Definitely.
Okay, and who would want to surrender to Dave Rubin? That would be totally pathetic. So last thing is, Konstantin Kisin was also on that panel, and he's the one I referred to with saying, that some on the left have blood on their hands, right? But Konstantin wrote to me afterwards and said, listen, I didn't mean it that way. I don't want to get into exactly what he said because it's private, right? But I appreciated it. He had a nice note saying, hey, you know what, I wasn't trying to do anything like Dave, right? Or again, not mentioning specifically what he said, but it was a nice note, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what a person does, even when Konstantin and I totally disagree on many things, and we've also battled, right?
Yeah.
But a good person says, hey, you know what? If I was misunderstood, I want you to know that I didn't mean it or whatever's cool and not cool, right? So I appreciated that note from him. And these days, by the way, guys, there is now a cadre of us on the left and the right that are having these conversations. And oftentimes these conversations are difficult, but we're getting to some agreement, which we've never gotten to before. All we've ever done is debate and fight and never get to agreement. But now we're beginning to get there, despite people like Dave Rubin who try to antagonize each other so that we hate each other forever. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.